Hello,
Hi.
hello. I know it's still
Hi.
early. Um,
Yeah, I hopped on coughing, so I don't have the virus, guys. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Nice to see you too. So yeah, like I said, I've been wanting to go live. I've been, going live with some people all over that I feel can bring a little bit more of an expertise to certain, situations and discussions that we talk about,
Hmm.
on our own platform. So why not now be the best time to, connect and show people that it's more than just one side to mental health or just health in general. And it's not just a metaphysical part or a spiritual aspect. It's also a mental aspect and, a physical aspect. So I
Hmm.
really just, I wanted to bring you on because I've been following your work for a while. I know friends of mine that actually follow you as well. So I've had multiple conversations about you with other people. So I just
That's
thought it would be,
awesome.
amazing to, bring you on and just, get
Hi,
your
Marcelo.
insights on it. So,
Yeah,
um,
well, that's great. Well, thank you for having me on. And that's wild. Yeah, word gets around, and I think real recognize real, and that's a real thing. I've
it
seen
really
that
is.
play out throughout years, so I love that. First of all, I don't know if you know, but maybe you want to shift your camera a little bit, like, because the top of your head is a little bit cut off. I don't know if you care, maybe you don't care, but I thought I would tell you because it's like
Thank
kind
you,
of like
thank
when
you.
you have something like in your teeth and no one tells you. It's sort of like, what is going on, guys? So,
No,
yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So
So, what
yeah,
are we talking about today?
just mental health really and just methods and ways. I know coming from your background with the psychology, I just wanted
Hmm.
to get your insights on things that I talk about as well. My mental health tips I give people is to find what works best for them in that aspect of meditation for some people, yoga for
Hmm.
some people,
Hmm.
drawing, writing, running, exercising, just things in that aspect that I know that helps in a spiritual understanding of feeling yourself and getting in tune
Hmm.
with how you feel and why you feel it and things like that and methods of expressing it that's not toxic in that aspect and it's
Hmm.
not detrimental to your health. So I just wanted to get some insights from you in that aspect of your field of what methods would you suggest some people to get in tune with and get involved with that'll help.
I love that question because I think whenever people think about, tools and techniques, there's just so many, right? And I always come back to the basics. And I think that the basics are actually called the basics because they're so powerful and they're so foundational. Like they might not be super fancy, but they work. So, one of the things that, for example, I always come back to, and when I work with someone, it's one of the first things we do is cultivating the witness perspective. So, if that some people call that mindfulness, some people call that taking the third party observer perspective. And basically, what I mean by that, to make it really simple, is that you're in your body, right? You have this identity, you have all these different things that you like. I like metal, I like EDM, I like the color purple, like all these things. And I think that we start to identify so much with our likes and dislikes and what we've gone through and our history and our trauma and our story and what we want and where we're moving towards, that sometimes that actually makes it harder to go to our next level because we're so identified with so many constructs that are actually a part of our past, and like they may be part of your present too, but that's because you're continuously thinking that they are, and you're continuously like taking those things about your identity and you're thinking them again in the present moment. And so it's
Creating
like you're
those
constantly
cycles.
thinking, yeah, and it's like you're literally recreating it like in the next moment, in the next moment, in the next moment. And the shift that happens, and I was just thinking about this earlier, is you're so close. You know, you're so close to your next level. And sometimes it totally doesn't feel that way. But part of why I'm saying that is because it's you thinking that, you know, it's so hard and that you're not there and that you're not close that actually
Creating those
creates
boundaries.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and so it makes it so much more solid. It's like I think, oh, I'm Zara, I'm this body, you know. It's like I'm not this body, I'm not this person, like this is just who I am right now.
This is what you
But
identify with at the
having,
moment.
right, and so cultivating awareness is everything, because if you have more moments throughout your day where you can just pause in between your responses to people, in between your reactions, then what you're doing is, and essentially you're stretching time in that moment, and your pause creates like your response. You can respond in a way that then shapes your future in the next moment, that aligns you further with actually like the future that you want. So I love I love tools. I'm all about practical tools and techniques. But if you can't develop this third party observer, like just very basic, like it's like then all those things kind of fall flat and kind of fall short.
I agree. I agree.
Um
That's why
yeah.
I try to tell people to get back to the basics of who they are inside, not necessarily who they are outside of how, how people, how they're portraying to people, or what their job title is, or what their, other titles. Just who are they inside? When you were a little kid and you didn't care about anything, you just wanted to have fun. What is that moment that that you have now that can bring that same type of enjoyment and fulfillment and just natural beingness and stillness. And like I said, in my field, I just try to teach people meditation and um, techniques like journaling, like getting things out so then you can just view them and then decipher how you want to go about it. Is this something that I should take with me? Is this something that is benefiting me in this moment? Is
Mm,
this something that is actually hindering me, or something that I can let go of because I've outgrown it? Some
yeah.
things we do tend to hold on to because it becomes second nature, but we don't need it
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Right,
It's not
right,
it was
right,
only
right,
a survival technique, sort of kind of, for that moment
right,
that we
right,
just
right,
embodied.
right,
And it's
right.
getting past that, and mentally, and actually taking it in to not beat ourselves up with it, not be downing on ourselves about certain things and certain aspects of ourselves that we just don't have room for anymore. It's okay to outgrow those things. It's okay to let go of those things. It's okay to identify that you don't need them anymore, but in a healthier way. You know what I mean? I see a
Yeah.
lot of people going down the same cycles because they don't know how to actually step back and be that third party observer and actually see, objectively what is helping them and what is not. And
Mm.
it's so important nowadays. And being in the situation that we're all in right now, we're kind of stuck looking at ourselves in an aspect,
Mm-hmm.
what do we want to do when we get out of this, when we actually come back out to the world? How do we want to present ourselves in that aspect?
Mm.
Do we want to continue to, you know, go with the old, or
Mm.
start something new, see new ways? And that's just globally speaking as well. I had a friend of mine on live from Dubai, and she's going through similar situations, spiritually and, mentally, in the
Mm.
aspect that they can't leave their house um, unless they have a 3 day advance notice to their
Wow.
government. So they can't even go shopping, they can't even
Wow.
do none of that. And like, I go outside almost every day, and that just put that
Right.
into perspective of, wow, my situation isn't as bad as, I thought it was, in an aspect of, let me be grateful that I can go outside and go, do yoga and go meditate by a beach and stuff like that, and things that we take for
Mm.
granted. And I feel like with everything going on, this is the perfect time for people to hone in on those skills to,
Mm.
get back to the basics of themselves.
Yeah, yeah. What you're saying actually makes me think about how, um, you know, with taking things for granted, we also take we like I mean we take everything for granted until it's taken away. And I think, that's part of what I love about what's going on right now, because there's certainly things I don't like about it. But there's things that I like about it too, which, is like it's really challenging me to feel, and to um, feel my emotions and to not repress anything, to not just like bury myself in work or, whatever it is. And also, as emotions come up and as things come up during the quarantine that can feel really heavy and overwhelming, I'm challenged to also just take it moment by moment and realize that the ability to deal with my emotions and deal with whatever is arising is right there, and it's available to me like right there in the next moment, in that fraction of a moment even. And that's why I'm saying your next level is so close. It's sort of like evolve or repeat, but constantly, like in every moment. And you
Agreed.
literally have the choice in every moment to relive the old and be stuck in that, dark pit of just, you know, romanticizing sadness or romanticizing your struggle or romanticizing like flirting with, your past traumas, or you have the opportunity like in that moment to feel like, what? All that stuff just feels so old right now. Like it just feels so old right now. It feels so passe. And I can feel how so much of it is just behind me. It's literally
Yeah.
behind me and it's literally so like ancient. And I get to actually leave it there. I get to actually feel right now how I would feel when I'm feeling extremely divine and extremely connected and extremely in alignment. Like I can actually access that right now. We all can, like
Yeah.
if we choose to. And I'm not saying don't feel your emotions. I'm saying as you're feeling them and
Process them.
as you are working through it, because I'm all about working through them and not just spiritual bypassing or not just, repressing and being like, oh yeah, I'm all high vibe and I'm all love and light, like blah, blah,
Like
blah. So,
no, I I
um,
I'm I feel you on that. I feel you.
yeah, yeah. So feel them, but you don't have to stay there. Because I think that a lot of us, why we didn't feel our emotions in the past is because we would get stuck there. Like we would
Yep.
feel it and then we would want to, self medicate or
Hmm.
numb ourselves out because we
Or make
didn't know how to
excuses.
just get past it and move on once we felt it, you
Yeah.
know? We didn't have the support, we didn't have the tools, we didn't know a lot of the stuff we know now as we're growing. So I think that you can feel it, but you don't have to stay there. You get to move
I
on too.
agree. I agree. And
Does that make
and just
sense?
like you said, oh, it makes perfect sense. And exactly like how you said, like, you know, filling in those voids with work. Like now we don't have that right now. You know what I mean? Like some people aren't working, so they're being forced to really sit within themselves, which is a blessing in disguise, honestly, because it's gonna build so much more character. It's gonna build so many more people up into trying to
Yeah.
find those healthier ways to shed the old and see what's not working for them.
Yeah.
But when you're in that rat race of just working, 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 and then coming home and you're tired, but you're really not as tired as you think, you're just not really wanting to feel what's going on outside of their workplace,
Mm-hmm.
and you just have that excuse to go run to. Um, you know, I know I've done it multiple times in the aspect of I work and come home and like, oh, let me do my, my workshops and get my documents ready. And I'm like, okay, well, let me just go to sleep now because I work in the morning. But that's a whole 12-hour span that I could just, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Actually sit within myself and do things
Mm.
and do this and this. But when I was in the
Mm.
rat race of just going and going and going and going, thinking that I'm doing something that's benefiting myself when actually it's just running from myself, honestly. So
Mm.
even within me, being a spiritually inclined person, we still shed layers. And that's what people don't understand. It's not
Mm-hmm.
all light and love.
Mm-hmm.
It actually gets deeper. When we start to
Right.
ingrain and go in deeper, that's where the spiritual work actually comes into play. So I've been seeing myself in different situations, in different, you know, conversations, different relationships with, platonic relationships, even friendships, that are just certain aspects of me that I don't like in that way, even communicating certain aspects
Mm-hmm.
of myself that I didn't like that I know I can grow from, but I never had the time to actually sit, or let me take that back. I didn't create the time to actually sit and dissect it
Mm.
in a good, healthier mindset. You know what I mean? With
Mhm.
everything being
Mhm.
down, I'm been out in nature more so daily. So I don't have
Mm.
that work. Let me go run to work. Let me go run to work. Oh,
Mm.
I don't have time to go outside now because of this and that. So that's been helping me a lot in the aspect of, interacting with the other parts of myself in nature, and being smelling the flowers, for say, to actually bring myself to a awareness enough to be, like you said, still. So then I started to process more. I'm outside
Mm.
walking in nature, and I'm just thinking about a situation that just happened or something, and I look at it objectively, like, what could I have done better? What are the
Totally.
parts of me that I didn't like in that aspect that I could
Totally.
change, or I could,
Mhm.
redirect
Yeah.
in a more calmer sense. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's why I encourage people, go outside, man. Outside in nature is probably one of the
Mm.
best parts of therapy, for your
Mhm.
mental health, that I love. You know what I mean? And I
I
tell people all the
totally
time,
agree.
just like I just hear the birds just chirping outside where you're at right now,
Yeah.
and it's just relaxing and calming, and I'm inside, so
Yeah.
I'm like
Mhm.
wound up, but just hearing the birds and just, letting nature talk to you and feeling nature and just,
Mhm.
grounding. And people don't really understand how much of a relief it is to go and walk outside barefoot. Like,
Yeah.
nothing, it just, the earth is
Mhm.
going to energetically
Mm.
grab onto the negatives and the
Mm.
neutral parts of yourself and feed you back positivity. And that's what people don't realize. It's all
Mm.
energy. We're all energy. And when we all interact with certain aspects of nature, that energy is merging with you, it's helping you, it's benefiting you. um Being next to plants, you're getting that fresh oxygen. You're not getting
Mm.
that 0.2% of oxygen that's really in the
Mm.
air with all the other
Mm.
toxins that's in the
Mm.
air. It's actually filtering you better and
Mhm.
giving you more. Then now
Mm.
your brain is actually getting more,
Mm.
circulation. So
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
just love that aspect of, how everything ties in together, and we're able to actually bring it home for people in that aspect. Um, Especially in your field. I like I said, I love your work because you
Thank
bring it to
you.
a science, in a sense,
Mm.
that a lot of people need, because a lot of
Mm.
people want to grasp to the scientific parts, the understanding parts, the,
Right.
oh, well, this is proven, you know what I mean,
Right.
clinically
Right.
and, medically in that aspect.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
actually, for some of my followers that don't know who you are, could you please just give me just a little background of, who you truly are?
Wow, that's an amazing question because it really just depends on where, like, the way to answer that question depends on like where you are in your development. So I could say, I'm Zara, I studied at Harvard, I did, these things. Or I can say, I'm another person just like yourself who's been through so much and who is just beginning to feel fully and love and accept myself fully. And it feels like the best high and the best drug there is. Loving yourself is so
Amen.
amazing. It's amazing. And everything changes after that. Like who you are, like everything about who you think you are
Yes.
changes once you begin to truly
You
love
answered that
yourself.
so well. That was
It's true. It's so
the
true.
best
Like,
answer.
listen, like when I discovered, like when I actually started, like I did this ritual just on in the spot, like in the moment, it just came through on how to love and heal and accept myself fully.
Mhm.
And I actually created like a whole thing so I could share it with people. So it's there and it's amazing. But in the moment, what happened was that I realized that before that moment, everything I did in my life had an agenda. Everything, every single action, nothing was actually truly pure because everything had the end intention of being loved, accepted, and finally be good enough. Through that degree, through that profession, through that outfit, through that behavior, through that fill in the blank. And we do this with everything. We just
Yes.
don't realize. that our end goal is, "Ah, I finally just want to feel loved. I finally just want to feel accepted. And I feel like I want to belong. I just want that. It's like a human need that we all have. So it's completely normal. But when you transcend that and you give that to yourself, you finally realize like you are actually already all of that right now. Like you're already loved. You're already so worthy. And that's from somewhere far beyond this realm,
Hmm.
far beyond what anyone here could give you. And they can't give it to you because they don't give that to themselves. How could they give that to you? You're like looking for something that they can't give you. So it's just so it's beautiful. It's
That self
beautiful when you
love, that
start to
self
do that.
love is so genuine. You know what I mean? And when you feel it,
Yeah.
when you actually
Mhm.
feel that bliss of it, it's something that you would chase forever. And that aspect of not caring what people think, not caring what people say, not caring how people look at you, as long as you're getting closer to that feeling again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm, mm,
And
mm,
I cannot agree even more than what that answer was for me, because that
mm.
just happened to me recently in the aspect of I was just going through my own stuff, and just like I said, I was feeling everything coming up. I was feeling everything, all the emotions that I've been
Mm,
suppressing, that I didn't even know I
mm.
was
Yeah.
suppressing in that aspect,
Mm-hmm.
because just years of just stuff just
Right.
coming up. So I started writing, and as I'm writing, I'm like, wow, I don't feel this way. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not feeling all this sadness. Why am I writing all this sadness? And then like two,
Mm.
3 days later on Easter, I'm just driving, and I just start busting out crying, like just bawling my eyes out, like
Wow. Yeah.
tearful, like just, but I
Yeah.
knew it was a release for me.
Right.
So I just took my phone out, and I just went live on my Facebook, and I was just talking, and I was just, just speaking about everything that you're saying now, being misunderstood so much in the aspect of I just want to just share myself. And you know what I mean? And just for everything you were saying, it's a human need to want to be
Yeah.
accepted, to want to be
Mm-hmm.
heard, to want to be needed in that aspect
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
just human
Mm-hmm.
interaction.
Yeah.
And over the years of just, like I said, feeling that bliss and chasing that bliss and trying to obtain it to where it's just every day that's what it is, I've been misunderstood in almost every aspect of my life. So
Yeah.
all of that just came out, and I was like, I could not talk that to myself. I could have, but I
Mm,
knew I would not get it out fully if
mm.
I did not just put it all out there. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
trying to show people being authentic is okay. You know what I mean? Especially
I
being a
know.
male, crying is okay. It is
Yes.
healing. It is healing.
Powerful.
It's the
Mm-hmm.
most strength that you can display,
So
just to
strong.
simply just
So
let
so
your
much
emotions
courage
out.
to feel
So
your
much
to
courage.
feel your emotions requires so
Exactly.
much courage.
Exactly. And just displaying that and just letting it all out. The next day I woke up, I was feeling great. I was just like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
amazing." And people were writing me like, "You okay? You okay?" I'm like, I'm fine. Like that was a release. Like I'm not even, you know what I mean? I didn't
I know that's
embody.
happened to me too. It's so funny.
Like I
People are
didn't
like, "Are
hold
you
on to
okay?
it.
I'm
Yeah, and
here
it's
for
like
you." I'm
I'm
like, "Are
fine.
you kidding? Were you not listening?" Like,
Exactly. Exactly. Like, do you not know what that was? That was the
mm,
most release that I've had in years in the aspect of
amazing,
just being
amazing.
able to actually, let it out constructively and not try to, hide it behind, drinking, smoking, sex, even just regardless, just anything, just not hiding it and just letting it
Right,
out purely
right,
and just,
right.
not even holding on to it, just looking at it, just,
Mm-hmm.
letting it
Mm-hmm.
flow. And I just felt so much better. And ever since then, I've just been in so much of a better mindset and headspace in that aspect, because I knew what was happening. You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
was able
Mm-hmm.
to, have that third party observation of myself while I was in it, and while I'm going through it, and while I'm seeing everybody just writing me, just you okay, you okay. I had like 5 people like, bro, this is great, level up, and I'm like, yes, you guys understand what's happening, like you know what I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
just digging deeper in,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I want to encourage people in my field and in my journey to do, to be authentic with themselves, to be real with
Yeah.
themselves, no matter how you viewed by anybody outside of you. Just be real with yourself, just be okay with yourself, just be, you know real with yourself. Like you said, real recognize real, and you know when you're not being real with yourself. You know when you're
Yeah.
faking it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And
Mhm.
I try to just be the most authentic self possible and show people that it's okay, and it's not the stereotype of men not being able to show emotions, or a certain way and a certain role that we should be
Mhm.
in the world to show
Mhm.
our strength. I want to break down that barrier. I want to show
I mean,
people
you're
it's not
literally
that.
breaking generational trauma. Like you're
Yes,
literally breaking the cycle of generational trauma. What happens is that until someone in each family, becomes that disruptor that actually decides like, you know what? That's enough. Like this is enough. Like this is not working. I can tell you're angry. I can tell you're sad. I can tell you're not dealing with your stuff. I can tell I'm not dealing with my stuff. I'm going to start dealing with my stuff. I'm going to
exactly.
start actually facing the, skeletons in my closet. I'm going to let
Yep.
them just hang out, and we're going to have tea, and we're going to discuss all the things, and we're going to sort things out. And you're literally breaking it, because until you do that, you become the carbon copy of your parents, who were the carbon copy of your grandparents, who were the carbon copy of your great great or great grandparents. It's like you might think you're not like your parents until you grow a little bit older. And if you're not growing, you're dying. Like there's no difference. Like if you're not growing, you're stagnating, which basically means you're becoming like a zombie. You're essentially like getting
Exactly.
ready to go in the grave. So you you know I someone told me this a long time ago, like try to stretch outside of your comfort zone 10% every day. If you're not stretching outside of your comfort zone 10% every day, you're not growing as much as you think you're growing. So I just I try to remember that. I try to remember that this is really great work. It's big, it's huge, it's a big deal. Like what you're doing is freaking hard. That's why
Yeah.
people don't do it. That's why maybe other people in your family haven't done it, or your friends don't do it. But if you can do it, like if you're wake enough to do it, if you take yourself seriously enough to do it, then I mean, the ripple effect is just massive.
Yes. Yes.
Even if the people around you don't change, they still feel it. It still affects them, and it still helps them, even if they don't show you, even if they don't decide to do the things that you tell them and suggest them for them to read or listen to. It's
Yes.
okay. um
Because they see
yeah.
it, and that's all
Right.
I want to try to be in this world is just an example. You know what I mean? Just an
Right.
example of the journey, and to let people know you're not alone. Like we can get through this together, because it
Mm.
is such a hard process, and people quit. You know what I mean? They get
Mm-hmm.
that right
Mm-hmm.
there to the surface, and they start peeling back, and they're like, oh, I don't know about that. But if they have
Totally.
someone there that's like, hey, you can do this. It's a light at the end of that. When you
Totally.
dig deep enough, you're
Totally.
gonna find that gem that is you
Yeah.
in that
Mm-hmm.
aspect, and just encouraging people to know that it's possible, and know that we all go through it on each level. Um, it's so important to me, because I know it's a lot of spiritual people that always just say positivity, 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 and people are like, that's not possible. Like, how do I get there? Like, how do I get there? Like, it's a choice, and that's what they're not
Yeah.
understanding, and that's not what they tell them. It's a choice, because
Mm-hmm.
they're everybody gets confronted with things that you can go either or daily in every aspect. I don't care what level of consciousness you're on, you're gonna get faced with something that is going to make you have to make that choice. And
Right.
having that support helps that choice, and helps that person with the confidence enough to make that choice, to know that okay. And then once you start making those choices, that seed that you planted starts to blossom, and then now your
Mm.
foundation becomes a tree trunk. Now it's that much
Mm.
stronger in that aspect, to where
Mm.
you don't need that much of that outside to let you know that it's okay to make that positive choice. Now you're
Right.
influencing others just around you to make that power, that positive choice, and that's where it becomes a collective consciousness. That's where it becomes that ripple effect, like you said. When one person does it and it's seen, then it allows other people to know that it's possible. And that's just the hope that I try to just at least bring with just who I am on my own journey in that aspect. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like you were
Yeah.
saying, with the carbon copies of our parents and their parents, um, we think we're just bound by genetics, when that's not true, and science is starting to prove that you can consciously rewire your DNA. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
love reading, Joe Dispenza's books. Deepak even has one that talks about, activating your DNA and
Mm-hmm.
certain codings that you can consciously do by doing conscious, activities and doing, consciously, like we're doing right now, breaking generational curses. We're really rewiring ourselves, the way we think, the way our body grows and reacts to situations, to stress situations. You know what I mean? Um
Yes.
all
It's
that
happening
plays
like
so
constantly,
powerful.
you're in
Yes,
flux constantly. You just think you're not, so, but
exactly.
because you're holding on. But if you just embrace the fact that, things are already changing constantly, and you can choose to like go for the ride and go towards like optimal rather than like staying behind and staying in the past, then that can be really helpful.
Yes, I agree 100%. I
Awesome.
thank you so much for
Thank
coming on.
you. Thank you,
And
Mark.
this was so much, this was needed. And like I said, I've been following you for so long that I am so grateful that you were able to, that you even agreed to come on with me, because like I said, I've been reaching out to people of every field just to bring it back to an
Awesome.
understanding that we're all the same and we're all growing, and it's
Yeah.
so good to see that. So just let everybody know on my end where they can find you. um
Search for at Matrix Codebreaker on Instagram. Matrix Codebreaker. You'll find me on there. I think
and
that's
definitely
easy enough to remember,
promote
right?
your business too. I saw you just
Yeah.
started a business. That's what's
Yes.
up. Yes.
Uh yes, it's so exciting. Autana.life. So that's AUTANA.life. So you can find me there. And thank you so much, Mark. And you're
Thank
right.
you.
We are actually, not to be cheesy like all the commercials right now, but we are all in this together. And
Yes,
so
we are.
thank
We
you. Thank
really
you for
are.
initiating this.
No problem. No problem.
See
Enjoy the
you.
rest of your night.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.